Hey everyone, welcome to Dollars and Cents with Kevin Methvin, and today we have the fabulous Dave Campagna who's going to talk to us about why or why not you should even consider a 50-year mortgage. Take it away.
Hey, Kevin, thanks. I appreciate you having me on today. You know, it's a hot subject, right? Like people watch social, you're probably watching this on social as well. And people say, what would a 50-year mortgage look like? Oh my gosh, how much interest, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, we're located here in the East Contra Costa County, and the average price of a home is $700,000. So I did some math, and you would be right that if you look at the spread difference between a 15-year fixed and a 30-year fixed, and they had that same spread, which is about 0.75%, and you did the math, you wouldn't save very much. You'd save, your buying power would go up $11,000, which doesn't really move the needle. However, if they kept the rate the same as a 30-year, your buying power would be 10% more. So the average person that would qualify, their payment would be at $700,000 for the average home in East County, would actually be able to buy $770,000. So while you calculate the fact that, yes, you are paying more in interest, but you're able to buy a home that's in a whole different category, or neighborhood or beds, baths, or school district,
Absolutely.
different with that buying power, which means that the appreciation on a percentage basis would be the same, but on dollars and cents wise, we'd have to do the math, but could make up for the difference in how much little you are paying towards principal on the beginning years of that.
So you mean the appreciation because the asset itself is larger, right?
Right, because
Yeah.
you're starting at 770 versus 700
Right.
for the exact same payment.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference. I mean, I'm out looking at homes all the time, and that $70,000 swing can make the difference on whether or not you're in the top rated school district, if you're a much newer home. I mean, shoot, I just made a move like that and went up almost double the size of the house because there was about that difference in spread.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's interesting. So the other thing to consider is that, oh gosh, I'm going to pay so much more interest. Well, mortgage interest is still tax deductible.
Right.
And most people that are buying in that price range are in about when you combine state and federal together, about a third of their income. Not that I want to give tax advice, but about a third of their income, it goes to taxes. So if you've got that interest as a write-off, you can figure that a third of that interest is going to be dollar for dollar going back into your pocket. And mortgages are front loaded with interest, especially on a 50-year.
Oh yeah.
So it would just make your tax return look a little bit better, meaning you'd have more money of take-home pay every single month if you adjusted things, or have a bigger refund at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it's someone, and by the way, I should have prefaced this, but this is a gentleman that's successfully funded tens of thousands of loans. So he knows a little bit about this stuff. And I actually used to do loans back in the day too, but nowhere near as many as he. And I remember there was a 40-year mortgage option at one point. Do you remember those?
Right. And interest only, right?
Yeah.
So there's always been a lot of different things for affordability to make homes more affordable. I mean, let's face it, home builders want to sell homes, and we have a lack of homes, and that's why home prices keep rising, because over the last 15 years, home builders have not been keeping pace with population.
Yeah, nice. I can see that. And you've done so many of these. How often do people actually stay on their loan for, typically?
Well, everybody's circumstances are different, but if you look at the averages, people stay in a home from 7 to 10 years. But more importantly than that, people don't keep their home loan for the whole time they own the house.
You're right. That's what I'm getting at.
We're at a declining interest rate environment right now, and everybody's always heard, hey, buy now before home prices keep going up. Marry the house, date the rate kind of thing. And that's still going on. I know it's kind of a catchphrase, but it's still true today. And so when you go to buy the house, even if you're going to be there the typical 7 to 10 years, you may go through 2 or 3 mortgages in that time frame. So maybe you get the 50-year loan to get in, and then maybe 2 years later rates are better, or maybe it's 18 months, maybe it's only a year. And then they say, hey, I don't want to be on a 50-year anymore, but rates have gone down. My payments can be the same if I convert over to a 30-year.
Yeah.
Right?
And like I said, they might not stay there. They might keep the house and make it a rental. I mean, there's so many different options.
Right.
Keeping that payment low.
And with inflation, people get raises on their job. Cost of living goes up. So when you look at the difference of renting versus owning, when you rent, as housing gets more expensive, the landlord raises the rent. If you've got a fixed rate mortgage, whether it's 15, 30, or 50 years, that payment doesn't move. The needle doesn't move, but your income goes up. So you have more dollars in the future to pay that same fixed amount.
Yeah. And like saying, I mean, even if you don't, it stays fixed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And, so the smart move might be, okay, great. I got a raise on my job. I'm going to max out maybe my retirement savings first, like financial planners would advocate that. And then secondarily, if I've maxed that out, maybe I do pay a little extra on the mortgage and stay with the 50-year. But if life happens, I need to get a new car because the other one broke down, or,
Hmm.
something worse, somebody lost a job. I have the flexibility of having that lower payment on that 50-year if it becomes available,
Right.
right? But I can always pay extra. There's no prepayment penalty. I can always throw more money towards it. Now, we all know that the 50-year is not available yet, but, hey, if it becomes available, it's just going to make housing a little bit more affordable.
Yeah. So, and what happens if you make an extra payment a year right now?
Well, I know the math on a 30-year.
Okay,
So
let's work with
so
that.
a lot of people say, well, what if, a lot of people forget about this. They just think there's 12 months in the year and there's always 4 weeks in a month, but there's not, right? So if you wanted to pay biweekly, make a payment every 2 weeks, you would actually not make 24 half payments, you'd make 26 half payments, right? Or basically you'd be making an extra mortgage payment a year. And by doing that, you could shave off, depending on your interest rate, you can shave off 3 to 7 years off your mortgage. Now, if it's just one lump versus making 1/12 of an extra payment every single month, the math over time does actually add up that if you
Mm.
do it every single month rather than one extra payment a year, if you actually just pay a little bit extra, it does do that.
And is there a calculator that you have access to that if people have
There's
questions about that?
tons. I've got it on my own personal website through my work, but you can just simply Google it. You can use ChatGPT.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
lots of different ways to do it, or you can just give me a phone call and I can calculate it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now another question for you, and we didn't really prepare for this one, but I also heard about a transferable mortgage, or what was the buzzword they were using? Have you heard about this? They're talking about bringing your old mortgage over to a new home.
I'm not very familiar with that. Now, they do have certain loans that are assumable where a new
Right.
buyer can take over that existing home loan. But then the problem is, or the challenge is that you only get to take it at that loan balance. So let's just say I bought a house for 500,000. I kept it for a while and now I'm selling it for 700. Well, I paid down that 500. Now I only owe 450. So the next buyer coming in goes, oh, well, I'm going to buy it for you for 700. Now I got to come up with 250,000 for down payment, or maybe a second mortgage to bridge the gap.
Right. And even if that buyer does have that much down, like, you still have to convince the bank, right? They'd rather do a whole new
Well, you
loan.
have to qualify,
Yeah.
right. So you still have to qualify for that mortgage, and I can't help with those situations because you have to go with whoever the seller has their mortgage with.
Right. Whoever's servicing that, right?
Correct. Whoever's servicing that loan. So, they're not as motivated to act quickly. So while it could sound attractive to have an interest rate in the 2s or the 3s
Hmm.
to take over the seller's financing, they're not really caring about timelines or deadlines, right? So if
Right.
you wrote a very quick closing, like a 3-week, 21-day, 3 to 4-week, 21 to 30-day closing, they may not adhere to that. They're just going to work at their own pace because at the end of the day, they really don't want to rewrite that loan for somebody else. They rather have it pay off anyway. So they're going to make it a little bit painful.
Yeah, it's kind of like asking for a short sale almost, right? Like it takes months and
Right.
months and months.
Right.
And, just if you don't know this already, typically for a successful offer, we're looking at writing the 2 to 3 week close because sometimes you're up against cash out here in our area. I mean, people will have cash.
Yeah. Well, not only just here, but nationwide, 30% of sales are all cash.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good chunk, right? So if you want to be competitive, sometimes you have to shorten that timeline. And if you're hoping for an assumable loan to happen in a couple of weeks, doesn't sound like it's going to happen, right?
No, I've heard cases where it takes 3 or 4 months and the seller gets really frustrated because they may or may not have already picked out their new place or lost out on it because they
Mhm.
haven't closed yet.
Yeah, if we can't close on time, we get what's called a notice to perform, and then you only have 48 hours to hurry up and get it done. So it's and it makes everyone look bad, and it's just a bad experience for the buyer. So just something to understand about those assumable loan options that you do care
Right.
about from time to time.
Right. The good news is that there's a variety of different ways to finance a home these days,
Hmm.
and it's our job to educate the buyers out there and let them know what all their options are. And not every person, you're not going to have everybody's going to fit the same mold. So everybody's situation is different depending upon how what they've got for credit score, what they've got for down payment, what their longevity of how long they're going to stay in the home is. So every single case is going to be a little bit different. So, one of the things that, as we've closed many transactions together is, okay, on this one, we're going to do it this way. On this one, we're going to do it a little bit different twist. And with this one, we're going to do it a third way. So, everybody's situation is different. So we like to customize those loan options for people and give them options. We don't say, this is the way you're going to do it. These are your options, and you pick what you think is best for you. And we like to advise, right? We like to say pros and cons, but ultimately it's your decision, because after Kevin gets you the keys, I'm not going to make the payment, you are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and everyone has this misconception that you get one interest rate. No, there's a bevy of rates, right? You get to pick a cost or credit associated with that rate, right?
And with homes taking just a little bit longer on the market these days, they're saying some flexibility. I mean, we can get the seller to maybe give you some credit, and you can use that towards closing costs. You can use that to buy down the interest rate. In fact, on certain FHA loans, you could even have it where they can pay up to 3 months of the mortgage payment. So if you think about this timing, if you got in contract in December, which is really only a couple weeks away, and you close, say, like the first week of January, you can have it so you don't even have your first payment due until summer.
That's interesting.
Right? Like if you closed on the first week of January, you wouldn't have a mortgage payment due until March. But if the seller paid for the first 3 months, they would pay for March, April, and May. Your first payment wouldn't be due until June.
So how does that work? We haven't run into that one yet. So
the buyer can pay for it themselves, so they're kind of prepaying it, or they can use a seller credit for that. Might be a great marketing strategy for a seller to say, hey, you buy my house, I'll give you enough credit so you don't have to make payments for a long time. 3 months. I'll pay the first 3 payments for you.
Sounds like a furniture pitch, right?
Yeah, it kind of is, right? Like I got friends that sell appliances, and I'm sure there's some people out there we both collectively know that sell furniture too. And let's face it, we're going to drain your bank account a little bit, right? With the down payment and the closing costs. That gives you some time to recoup before you have a payment due.
Yeah, just don't buy that furniture before you close on the house.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you get the keys first.
Yeah. Why should somebody not buy something or run up their credit card right before closing?
Oh, because we check on things, right? So right before we fund your loan, that's us giving what you were approved amount to basically the seller. Passes through the title or escrow company. If we pull your credit, all of a sudden you went out and bought a car and your debt to income ratio or your qualifications were really tight, that could blow it, right? If you use an existing credit card and now your proration of what your balance versus your high credit limit could affect your score. If that affects your score, it could be that you still qualify, but it could cause a delay in closing, which just kind of upsets everybody.
And it could affect your rate too, right? It
could affect your interest rate. It could affect if you're putting less than 20% down, your mortgage insurance payment could go up because your debt to income ratio goes up, and you'd still qualify. That could affect some of the loan disclosures and cause a 3 business, not calendar, 3 business day delay. I actually had it happen not that long ago, and on top of him having to pay an extra $100 per month on mortgage insurance, it affected the APR by more than 1/8. I had to redisclose the loan and wait 3 days, but it happened on a Friday, and that Monday was a holiday, so I couldn't count that as a calendar day.
Oh, no.
So my team was off on Monday, so they couldn't redisclose it till Tuesday. So then I only had to count Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then they were able to close that following Friday. So it stretched to be a whole week longer in closing. And people had movers scheduled, and the sellers were buying another house, and those sellers were buying another house. So it had a real ripple effect. So
absolutely.
The key to anything is communication. And that's what you get when you work with Kevin and I is that we pride ourselves on communication and keeping you up to date. And let's face it, as homeowners, it's nerve-wracking. So we are constantly reminding you of do's and don'ts throughout the process. But the key thing is, if you're unsure about anything, just pick up the phone, text, send a smoke signal, whatever it may be. DM us.
Socials, whatever.
Get a hold of us.
We'll 50,000 different ways to get a hold of me now?
Right. We'll tell you. He has this very bright yellow Corvette, you might even see them go by. Maybe you wave them down off the side of the road.
Chances are I'm probably on the phone or answering your text and not looking what I'm doing anyway. So,
Well, hopefully you're doing it at a stoplight, so you're safe.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah. All great points. So, as you can see, of all the different topics that we talked about today, there's a lot involved, and everybody's situation is different. So, if you wanted to get a free consultation, we're both available. We can Zoom, we can text, we can talk about it. But communication's key. Starting early is key. Some people say, "Hey, my lease on my rental is not up until June."
Right.
I still say, hey, start today, because June will be here before you know it.
You know what? We had a client that we closed a couple years ago, and it was the same thing. They're like, well, my lease isn't up. Sure enough, he was able to negotiate that, got out early, and got in right before those rates kind of jumped off. So it made all the difference. I remember seeing him at a party a couple weeks after, and he goes, man, if you didn't tell me that and I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to afford the same house right now. Right. So timing is everything, right?
Right.
And what I love about Dave too is I call Dave up on a Sunday. I'm not going to hold half the loan officers on those online portals, right, until Monday, and that can make a big difference if I'm writing an offer for you on a Sunday. So definitely.
Right. Yeah. Local is king. And you never know. I might know the other side, or he might know the other side, or we collectively know the other side, and then it's a phone call to the other side, the listing agent, and go, hey, what's the seller's hot button? Do they want a fast close? Do they want a long close? Do they need to stay in the house a little bit longer afterwards? Are they open to a credit so we can either delay the payment, or we can buy out the mortgage insurance, or we can buy down the rate? There's lots, or help out just with regular closing costs. There's lots of different options.
Oh, just getting your offer accepted. I mean, in fact, if you probably saw my last reel, I was putting the sign up. Those folks, Dave and I helped them buy their first home, and then we just sold it. But they were able to get in because Dave knew the listing agent. I mean, it makes a big difference if you know the local professionals and can have a candid conversation with them. And it really makes all the difference in the world.
Right on. Hey, well, thanks for having me on today. It's always good to catch up, see you in person, and literally shake your hand, right? So we'd love to do that, and bring by a bottle of champagne and celebrate you when he's bringing you the keys. So
absolutely,
feel free to reach out if you have questions on anything, whether it's down payment, interest rates, 30 versus 50, credit, whatever it may be. Conversation is king. So let's start conversations and see if we can get you guys keys to a new home.
Yeah, we'll put all the info below.